Oh, we're gonna need it. Okay. We're live? I left my car in the car. I left my car. You get this. That's right, we got 20, right?
Okay, with small, at least we get one. Thank you.
I'm like Claire though, I like a seltzer with my. I did, I got an orange one in the car, not the LaCroix. No, I'm all right, thank you. All right, it's 7:30. Let's call the village board meeting to order. I'd like to thank everybody for coming in tonight. We are going to actually move into an executive session though. We have a matter that the board just needs to deal with. So I think it'll be about 10 or 15 minutes. So I will pledge first. Yeah, let's do that. So start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Deputy Mayor, wants to lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Mr. Mayor, is there then a motion to go into an
Just-
executive session?
One other note, when we go into executive session, Ronnie, why don't you go over the rules for the hearings and stuff? This way everybody's prepared for when we come back in. When you're done, you can come back in. Just stay out here. I do want to remind everybody that we do have a mask policy in place at the village. So please be respectful of that during this time. And that is by order of the state. So please bear with us. All right.
Is there then a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make the
with respect to
motion.
a particular legal issue?
All right.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
I was.
Frank.
Thank you. Okay. Well, towards an executive session, I just want to remind everyone of our public comment meeting procedures. The board may allow comment on select agenda items. There shall be public comment period during which residents may address the board on items that are not on the agenda. And to permit fair comment, each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes, which may be extended by the mayor. And that's pretty much it. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's really long and boring. You will get the idea. So, we'll just wait till it's come out of executive session. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, they went.
Yes. You did say, I guess it must be dished out.
Exactly. She's the best.
No, so they.
Yeah, I know we had it for this one, and we have the house is worth them, so I didn't think you were, we need two properties.
But then he told me.
It's not, you know, on the file, like, it was in the file.
Yeah, but it would be more expensive,
And you know, it's like, those two buckets are.
Of course, that's when I see time. Good motivation. Pictures.
Everybody wears glasses, we wear glasses, we don't fly.
Well, they're not gonna see it all the way, they saw it
I'm sorry that, they have a special meeting with the special counsel. That will charge us by the minute if they wait until the end of the meeting.
Oh,
Let's put the public hearing and I'll choose, the department first.
That would be great.
Yeah, and then that would be really.
You know what happened?
Nobody knows that.
He was thinking, he was saying, he's crazy. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's been nice, but I think she said,
Twins
put
are
on
in.
some pants, like, put it behind your ear kind of thing, and he would think you treat the same.
Oh, yeah. I'll let you.
Yesterday, Golden. Everybody get Golden. So it's been Golden, he's got Golden. So you should look at it, one day you can say, yeah, I saw it today. He's fine now. Is he less aggressive?
He wasn't aggressive, he was just.
No.
It's entertaining.
Oh my God. She said it was the best possible result. You know those sounds are having those. Nose, cancer.
And she just had this picture taken. Oh, this is amazing. I'm so great. Yeah, but it's not really even swollen. You had surgery a week ago, that's it.
She's so, her name is Karina Rizzo. Nice to talk. We're in a large city. So my friend is a plastic surgeon. When I got the result from the dermatologist, I said, we were here. Karina Rizzo, and that's what the dermatologist said.
Right.
I didn't notice anything.
You went for your check, right?
And she says, you know, let me biopsy this whole thing.
That's my I kind of pushed a little bit.
You were.
I thought I was.
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah. How many stitches were it?
You know what you gotta get? You gotta get that,
Yeah.
you see that Moderna? It's like, when you put it on the, it's far less than. You switch
Yeah, we see.
You know what? Oh, you were doing from the tape. We're not late.
No, we don't need them.
We don't have a stenographer?
She is late.
Do we know if she's on the way?
Could you, Suzanne, could you go check and see if she's on the way? So her number's in my book under S, the next page. Sure.
That's for
Yeah,
stenographer?
Lisa Marie.
So what do we do with that stenographer?
Okay, we have, the option of going ahead, and it can be transferred from you
Being
to,
recorded.
Yes, being recorded.
okay, so we could do that. And,
I'd say wait for her, just in case this is not good.
Well, is it running? I mean,
the other
Could
thing
be a
is
half
that, one of the residents who was here for,
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
one of the residents who's here for Ridge Drive,
Uh-huh.
can't stay for the whole meeting and asked if we could do that hearing first.
All right, it's working. Okay. So good.
Okay.
He says it's working.
Okay,
It's-
so-
So we can do the video and have it transcribed and. still be
Absolutely.
official.
Yeah.
And I think YouTube will actually transcribe.
Well, our Mark Russo, the stenographer shortage, believe it or not.
As long as the video satisfies right
It
now,
is,
we can do
He
it.
said he's been doing it for
As long as
Brookhaven that
you two
way.
are good with it, perfect. Okay.
Okay.
There's a recording option.
All right, so at this point, we're still waiting on our stenographer. We are videotaping, so I think what we'll do is we'll start with the Ridge Drive public hearing first to give our stenographer hopefully a couple minutes to get here. And then we'll move on to the other hearings. So guess we need a motion for a hearing on proposed parking restrictions on Ridge Drive West.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Ronnie, can you just read off the proposed local law here?
This is a proposed law that would limit parking on Ridge Drive West during certain hours. Ridge Drive West, both sides, from Northern Boulevard to Beach Street, from 8 to 10 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m.
Okay, so We will start the public hearing. If anybody would like to speak, they can come up to the podium. Please give your name and address for the stenographer, or for the video, the record, and we will accept public comments. I know some people have been here before, and we do have comments from last month that we submitted for the record, so.
No answers, so I'm going to assume she's on.
Okay. So anybody for the public hearing on Ridge Drive? Mr. Schwartz?
Hi, I'm Alan Schwartz, resident of 15 Ridge Drive West.
Mhm.
I sympathize certainly with our parking situation that we have on our block. The problem that I have is that I live really right on the corner of Peachtree and Ridge Drive West. And this proposed parking law, I know will just simply kick the can right down to us and perhaps even beyond. I'm liking the fact that we are brainstorming these ideas, but quite frankly, I think that proposing any restrictions at any moment at this point is not exactly the right way to do this. I don't want any restrictions, and we've had petitions, of course, of many of our, which I know I've submitted to you, and to you, Ryan, I think I've received some people as well. Many who are in Ridge Drive West, down from Peachtree on down to Crabtree, even beyond it as well, and up Peachtree Drive as well, who are against this for a similar reason. We feel that if this goes into law, we feel that this will just simply, as I said, kick the can in a way that it will restrict our parking, and we're just going to have to come back here and continue doing this. At this moment, again, we're not really willing to have any restrictions based on our. I know that's not what the law is proposing at this point, but I know it's going to go down to that at this point too. So that's why we're at this point pretty much against this law being put into it. And I can certainly have a list of people who have been on a petition as well. I do think that we need to brainstorm. I understand the reason. We've seen a large amount of parking that has come certainly down that hill. There's no question about it. I'm glad the businesses are thriving. But I also know that there's other works perhaps and other ways that we can maybe go about this.
Thank you. And just a reminder for everybody, forgot to say it in the beginning, each public speaker is limited to 3 minutes. So please try and keep your comments below 3 minutes. That's all right. We didn't remind everybody and I forgot to turn the timer on. So. All right. Anybody else? Ms. O'Callaghan?
I'll do the timer if you want.
What?
I'll do the timer.
Hi, Carrie O'Callaghan, 9 Ridge Drive West. I agree with.
I'm sorry, we just need name and address for this pre-recording.
I'm sorry, Carrie O'Callaghan, 9 Ridge Drive West.
Okay, I didn't hear.
That's okay. So we have since the beginning, we didn't start asking for restricted parking. We asked to please stop these people from parking in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's affecting our quality of life. It's affecting our property values. It's just not what you would expect coming into Roslyn. I agree. If we could, I want to be a collaborative community member. That's why I started coming to you more than 2 years ago. Let's find something that works for everybody. I feel like we have tried absolutely everything until this point. This was the last resort, requesting some sort of restricted parking. If there's another way, I'm all for it. We have said all along, I think the onus should be on the business owners. They should be responsible for finding alternate parking arrangements for their employees. Up until recently, they were able to do that. Anybody who lives on the street knows that this has only been a problem for the past few years, or this big a problem for the past few years. But doing nothing is no longer an option. Even if we did something restrictive, I'm sorry, I'm losing my breath because of the mask.
That's all right.
If we did something restrictive, even if it was temporary, to force them to find alternative parking, something other than having them constantly parked in front of our homes. It's to everybody's benefit. It is affecting everything. It is affecting our property values. I know that firsthand. So we'd really like to put the onus on the businesses. We've been trying to do that for 2 years. If we can't do that, I believe you all have exhausted everything within your powers trying to do that. That's why we ended up where we are today. So we're asking that you please give us some relief. We've been really patient every time you've asked us to come back, every time we thought we had a solution. But it's time for it to stop, because it really is getting out of hand.
Thank you.
Mayor, do you want to talk about the Middle Neck Road solution?
Well, let's see if there's any other, let's see, get all the public comments first, and then we can give some updates. Any other comments on Ridge Drive? Proposed parking restrictions? Please come on up. Thank you.
Just very quick.
And just state your name and address for the record.
Tom from 6 Ridge Drive. I agree with Alan and Karen said. That's my opinion. Just the reason I appear today, because I personally think that it just only put the restrictions may not be an idea now to solve the parking issue. And I do feel uneasy seeing so many cars parked in front of our car. I'm at 6 Ridge Drive. My side already don't allow parking, and our visitors or any service guys, they have to park on the carry side. And I already feel, it's a little bit inconvenient. And if we put even more restriction, it is even, I don't think it will solve the problem.
Okay.
So that's why I'm here.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes, come on up.
James Reed from 7 Ridge Drive West. We've been trying to make a solution for the parking issue since like a year and a half ago. And then, as you know, my wife emailed Ryan. So there were like so many issues came up. So there were even like a trespassing issue. So I called a couple of times, and then I called like the John, the Bravo Hill Orobari Shagun. So they like to try to fight with us. So we try to save our spot. Sometimes like we couldn't get into the house from the walkway, but they blocked out like walkway. So we just wanna have a solution to have a peaceful life and then quality. So that's it. We trying to have a solution.
All right, thank you very much. All right, do we have any other comments from the public? Okay, Middle Neck Road, the transfer of the road has been approved. The agreement is being reviewed by the Comptroller's Office currently in Nassau County. So waiting to hear back from the county. That got handed over, I think, to the Comptroller's Office here at the beginning of last month in January. So we'll be checking on that. And we are going to look at making parking improvements on Middle Neck Road and potentially opening up parking there, as we previously discussed. Also, I know, Mr. O'Callahan, you had reached out to me about reaching out to the businesses again. I did reach out. I'm waiting on a call back from one of the business owners. And I'm going to plead with them again to, find parking elsewhere. And also share some of the more recent concerns with the neighbors. So I think those are the two updates I had. Any questions or comments from the board at this time?
I did speak to the controller last week about this.
Okay.
So I reminded her. She didn't know that it was in her office. So she will start looking. Ronnie, if you could send her a reminder email, that would be very helpful, she mentioned. So she will attempt to expedite it for us as much as she could.
Other comments or questions?
I just want to note, remind the board that we did award a bid to a traffic engineer to design that Middle Neck Road parking, so we are ready to move as quickly as possible once the paperwork is.
Who do we, VHP?
Yeah.
Bob Eschbacher?
Bob.
Go here.
Have we spoken to the apartment building as well, in terms of seeing if there was a way to share parking spaces? Because they got a ton of parking. We've approached them on that, but I know that at some point they had a separate deal with the body shop or something like that, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, that is not correct.
Okay.
They never parked at the apartment building. They parked at the adjacent
Oh, okay.
properties, but never at the apartment building.
But we put it on the list to inquire about. All right, if there's no further comments, nobody else from the public who wants to speak, we will, I guess, make a motion. I'll make a motion to adjourn this hearing to next month. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, so we'll continue this hearing on Ridge Drive next month, and we'll have updates on Middle Neck Road, and any feedback that we get, we'll reach out to the apartment building as well. So appreciate everybody's, again, continued patience on this, and everybody being forthcoming about their concerns, and we'll try and address this as best we can. Thank you for coming down. All right. Thank you. All right, I guess we'll just move to the full agenda. Let's go into Walnut, and we're almost a half an hour in now, so I don't know if we're getting our stenographer, so we'll just work off the video if that's okay with everybody. Okay. So this is a continuation of the hearing for the lot line adjustment on 5060 Walnut. This is carryover from last month's meeting. So I guess leave it up to the applicant if there's anything else you want to add to the record at this point.
So I've spoken with the village attorney and I've spoken with my client. We do understand that the board has some concerns with the movement of the lot line, the 21 feet. My client has stated his position many times. It's because he knows that adjoining house is going to get knocked down and something much larger, much more opulent is going to be there. And currently that side yard is 23 feet and it can go down to 10 feet, which he presumes, a builder would probably do. That said, he is willing to make an adjustment and reduce that instead of 21 feet to make it 15 feet. So the lot 60 would be 150 feet wide and lot 50 would be 120 feet wide. This way he can still, preserve that same approximately 30 feet or so that exists now between his house and that, between his property line and that, the existing house on that other side. So,
Mr. Farrell, I'm so
yes.
sorry, I just needed your appearance for the recording.
I apologize. My name is John Farrell. I'm with the firm of Sonward Braff Koblenz. Our offices are at 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Suite 601, Uniondale, New York.
I'm sorry, thank you.
No worries. We hope that offers a reasonable compromise to the board and to the residents that did put in their objections to the lot line adjustment. As we've said repeatedly, the lot sizes on Walnut Lane are varying. It's not cookie cutter. We have lots as narrow as 89 feet and as wide as 170 feet at certain points along Walnut. At 120 and 150, we fit right into that sweet spot, and it's about the average. So with that, I would just see if the board has any questions. If not, we would respectfully ask that the board approve the application.
I have a question. I'm a little confused by something you said, so maybe I misheard it or you could clarify it. So you said that your client is concerned that the house next door will get knocked down and a big house will be put there, correct?
Right. Well, that's why he bought the lot in the first place. He bought
Okay.
that lot.
So
because-
if he owns that lot, why would he be concerned that a big house is being built there when he owns that lot? He has that control.
Well, because he's going to sell it to a developer. So what he's
Okay.
trying to do is prevent a developer coming in, building a much bigger house, much closer to the property line. He's trying to continue to keep that space, and
So-
control it.
The last month, the justification was because he wanted more room for his children to play. Now I'm hearing that he only wants to do it so that the people next door can't build a big house.
No, I think I said both. In
No,
previous, in previous correspondence, I did emphasize that he wanted to preserve the side yard, preserve the open space. And, you know, obviously it goes hand in hand, that he's gonna have more room for his children. He's gonna be able to put in a landscaping buffer along that side. Again, the lots will be well in excess of the minimum set forth in the code. So, you know, we really don't, and we're not creating any new lots. We're not creating any new houses in the area. It's gonna remain the same. There's no new density that's coming as a result of this development.
Okay, thank you.
Question for you. I think even with the reduction, we would still end up with an existing home that is not in compliance with the existing code, and we would also have the pool issue because I think there was discussion of taking the home down. So
Right.
I guess are there any other changes you're making with the reduction? And if not, how do you what do you think the village should do to, I guess, reconcile now having a non-compliant property on
Right, so
their hands?
we had discussed this, well, my client had discussed it before I was involved with the building superintendent, and it was always understood that my client was gonna have to go and get variances for those, you know, to maintain the pool on that lot. We have not been down that road with the zoning board yet. We would agree to a condition that, you know, it would be, we would agree to something along the lines of having 1 year to sell the lot and start a development on that, and then if not, we would have to go back to the zoning board for further relief. But we haven't met with the zoning board yet, we haven't filed an application. So, you know, my client's plan is not to have this prolonged. He would like to sell it quickly and have it developed quickly. Ideally, after he closes on the acquisition of lot 50, you know, he can start marketing it to a developer and hopefully sell it quickly. And then this way, it would obviate the need for a variance for the pool.
So the plan would be then for a condition for 1 year to sell for development, so the pool and the house would stay up during that time period.
My client hasn't decided how he's gonna proceed with the house yet. I think his plan is to demolish the house
Okay,
and then sell the lot vacant with the pool.
okay.
So, didn't we talk about this last month, Ron, that you can't have a vacant lot?
Which means you need to get a variance.
Well, I think, and I've spoken about this with applicant's counsel, I think either way, they would need a variance. So if the house stays, they would need a variance because the house would be too close to the created lot line.
Right.
If the house is demolished, they would need a variance because the pool is an accessory structure, would be on a lot without a principal structure. So I think they recognize that either way, they would need to seek a variance if they were to proceed.
Which is no guarantee.
Correct, but just historically, the zoning board, in a similar situation, approved the maintenance of a pool without a main structure when there were guarantees that a new structure would be built pretty imminently.
So that's something to consider, you know, if their proposal is to take down the pool, then we have a property with no structure and a pool, or we have a property existing in non-compliance, but with the house on it.
Or if the zoning board denies it, then they'd have to remove the pool.
Yeah. So just something to consider.
And just so the board is aware, we don't, if we were to make that, the pool would remain fenced, and we wouldn't allow access to it. Probably we'd keep it covered until it got sold. This way there was no enticement to use that pool.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right. Thank you, sir. I think we'll just, is there anybody from the public who would like to comment on this application? All right, seeing none, thank you. I think at this point, I'd suggest, given the new information, we hold open this hearing, or hold the hearing open for, I guess, written comments, just in case there's anything additional comes in, but anything else to add to that, Jeff?
Can we limit that period to, instead of the full month, can we limit that to like 2 weeks?
What I suggest perhaps is that, and I think this is fair to everybody, is that if there are any written comments, perhaps could be made by 2 weeks without any replies by the week before the meeting, so
Okay.
that the board would have a full week to review anything, so that within 2 weeks from now, submissions, any further replies to those the week before the hearing, so that the
Okay.
board then has a full week, or the public has the full week, and the applicant has the full week to review everything, so that on the next date, all the information is before the board. That's what I propose.
That seems reasonable. Any questions or comments on that?
And is that agreeable to you?
Yes, that's perfectly reasonable, thank you.
Yes, Peter?
Just asking, this new suggestion, is that put on a new plan? You have a plan for that?
I mean, I would do a new plan, but I don't want my client to incur any cost. We would agree to, you know, if you want to condition it on those being the lot dimensions, we will create a plan. But, you know, if it's still,
I think,
No.
I think in order, if they're coming back next month to vote on it, we have to vote on a specific plan
Yeah,
for them.
you need a plan.
Jeff, is that, okay,
That would be the idea.
yeah.
okay, we will get you a plan by the end of this week.
All right, anything else on that one? Good? Okay. So we have to vote on that?
Yes,
Jeff?
please. Is there then a motion to continue, and this is with consent of the applicant?
Yes.
So then is there a motion to continue with the stipulations that any further submissions, first 2 weeks with replies at the latest the week before the board meeting, and that a new plan will be submitted by the applicant for the board to review? Is there a motion for that to be done?
I'll make
the
that.
motion.
Gary made the motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Ridge Drive. Okay, so then I'd say next one, fee cancellation for inspection appointment. This is one that has been on the calendar for 3 months.
Third hearing.
This is our third hearing, so we have the ability to approve this if we'd like. I, for one, am in favor of this. I think it's going to help with efficiency. Any comments or questions from the board? Do we have anybody from the public who would like to speak on the fee for cancellation of inspection appointments? All right, seeing none. I'll make a motion to adopt proposed local law A for 2022, fee for cancellation of inspection.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I would ask if in conjunction with that, if there's a secret
Secret,
determination.
yes.
Type 2 for the purposes of the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
So that's a State Environmental Quality Review Act. We as a board need to make a determination on it. Yes, Jeff, what would the determination be?
I would suggest that this would be deemed a type 2 action having no significant impact on the environment.
Okay. Motion to propose approval of local law A 2022 with a secret designation type 2.
Second by trustee Franco.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Do we need to do anything else to establish the fee, or are we good to go now? Put it into
Is that
the,
already in the law?
it was in there. Okay. Perfect. All right, so that's approved. Let's move to the next hearing. Rental registration, proposed local law B of 2022. This has also been on the calendar, I believe, for 3 months. Is that correct, Ronnie?
Third hearing, yeah.
This is our third hearing. So this would create a registry for those renting their homes. Could be single-family home, could be a multi-family dwelling, and also restrict the term of those rentals to a minimum of 90 days for rentals. Any questions or comments from the board on this one before we open it to the public? Okay, anybody from the public with the comment, please come up, sir. State your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Arthur B. Hall, 31 Knowles Lane. I just had a question about whether there was any implication on this law based on the governor's recent budget proposal that would potentially mandate additional dwelling units in the village, and whether the board has taken a stand on the governor's position and whether there's anything that goes along with it before we change the rental laws.
Yes, so this is actually under my agenda for discussion tonight. So what the gentleman is referring to is in the state budget. The governor has proposed requiring that all municipalities except for New York City allow for additional accessory dwelling units on the property, at least one more accessory dwelling unit. And then if it is near a transit hub, would allow for 25 units on said property.
Only on 1 acre properties.
And that's only on 1 acre properties.
And that would be a half mile from a transit hub.
Yes, and there is some of the village that, just based off initial analysis, it looks like it's within a half a mile of the Plandome train station, so could have an impact on us. So we're going to discuss this. I think based on the feedback that I've heard from the community, the analysis of it, obviously this would have not only dramatic, effects to the community from, just change to the single family neighborhoods that it is. We do have, and we have planned out multifamily units, right? We have an apartment complex. We do have homes that are rented as single family homes. But this is something that I think we'll be opposed to. But I do want to have a larger discussion with the board on it, so you can stick around for that. As far as the rental registry goes, I think this would be another reason. If that was to happen, which, I know our state reps are opposed to it, and, we'll have to see what comes out over the next few weeks. But we're going to want to know who's in those units. We're going to want to be able to communicate with them. And I think for sure, we're going to want to make sure they're at least rented for 90 days and it's not a short-term transient population residing in those. So
It's also a safety issue.
it also becomes a safety issue because, yes, we want to make sure they have the proper fire alarms, carbon monoxide detectors, things like that. So the rental registry, I think, would be a good step if that was to ever take effect, but that wasn't the genesis to it or the thought process. And, if we need to add anything to it, we can once we see what happens on the state level. Does that help?
Yes. In general, does the board have a position on this proposal?
Let us get through the hearings. I'll move that up on the agenda so we can have a full discussion on it, okay? Thank you for your patience. All right. Anything else on the rental registry proposed local law? All right. If none, I will make we need a secret designation on this too, right?
Yes.
So I'd say make a motion to approve the rental registry and do it with a type 2 designation. Does anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second.
Was that trustee Denise?
Yeah.
All right. To note, we have received additional input from the public on this. I know I've heard from one resident. I will comment back to that resident in writing as well. But I think we've been clear about the reasoning for this registry over and over again, and tried to answer these questions the best we can. But for anybody who's not here, just so you know.
We have a motion and a second to enact local law B as local law 2. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Why don't you poll the board?
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Dorfman? Aye. Trustee Landowski?
Aye.
Let's see who's next. Trustee Collins?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Rosenbaum?
Aye.
Trustee Franco?
Aye.
Trustee Denise?
Aye.
And Mayor Harrington.
Aye.
It's unanimous vote, all local laws passed.
All right, local law C, amended property maintenance to prohibit unsecured ladders. Deputy Mayor, do you just want to speak to this again? This has been on, is this for 2 months now or
This is
3?
the third hearing.
This is the
This is the
third
third
hearing.
hearing, okay.
I wish we had the computer working because I had a really nice presentation, but unfortunately the projector is done. Walking around the village, I have, in the last couple of months, I have noticed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 homes with ladders that are out for lengthy periods of time over weekends during non-working hours. It's both a safety hazard because just in case some kids decide to start climbing ladders that are left out, they can get hurt. And also from a security perspective, because it is a well-known fact that burglars will take a ladder from house A, bring it over to house B, and it gives them entry to the second floor where they can break in and commit crime. We haven't had any of those crimes in the village, but this is getting ahead of the curve to make sure we don't have those kinds of problems. And
Several years, Deputy Mayor, several years ago, that scenario did take place. An unsecured ladder was used to gain entry to a house on Manassas Road.
Oh, okay.
You know, say.
So we
quite a few
have
years
had
ago,
one.
Scenario, you know, the scenario was real.
Right. And the reality, all someone needs to do is just lock it up. I mean, all they have to do is put a chain on the ladder, lock it to something secure on the house. And it's not really a hardship for a contractor or for a homeowner. Just lock it up or secure it and you're good to go.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Any comments from the public on the unsecured ladder law? All right, hearing none. Do you want to make a motion to approve this, or you want to hold it open? If we approve it, I'd say
No.
it's a secret type 2 designation.
We're not holding this over.
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt local law C, amend property maintenance, prohibit unsecured ladders.
Oh, I'd like to second that, please.
Okay, with a type 2 designation for SECRA. I'll second it. All those in favor? Well, no,
Wait.
sorry.
You got 2 of them seconding.
Who seconded? I'm sorry. No, Randall said he'd make the motion. I seconded.
I thought he seconded.
Sorry, Randall made the motion. I seconded the motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Thank you. All right. So if I can just move item up to, oh, wait.
Make a motion to close the public.
Yes, we'll make a motion. You're making a motion to close the
I
public
am
hearing?
making that motion.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right.
Janice?
All in favor?
All those in favor of closing the
Everybody else is
public
shy.
hearing, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we are now out of the public hearing portion of the meeting. So I'm going to move up the agenda, the accessory dwelling unit proposal in the budget for discussion. Yes, this has been a big topic of conversation. Nassau County village officials has put out a ton of information to mayors about it, or a ton alerted us to it last week. Been having discussions and trying to understand what the analysis is around this. It would impact our community. It would require it. This is something I think we should be opposed to. It's going to completely change the zoning laws in the village. I think we, for years, right, had a very active community zoning board. Right, we've taken input, and I think the village has been laid out over the years. In addition, I believe there's legal advice coming in that this actually undermines the home rule law in New York State. Jeff, I don't know if there's anything more specific on that you want to comment on quick, or?
It does. What it affects, and I'll just give a couple of examples. It would impact in that it would preclude the village from, for example, having particular setback requirements with respect to these types of units. And that's something that the village normally takes very seriously in their assessment of how neighbors fit best together. There are also questions, it will affect their ability to determine I believe it's I think it will be the gross floor area actually, but I would need to check the language in the statute. But it would preclude a village from setting that, to some extent, the size of the units that could be placed on the property. And that's also something that normally the village has within its power and in its zoning work when it's deciding what would fit best within any particular zoning district. So by taking those away, not just this village, but every village, every community that has zoning powers within the state of New York would be limited in that ability. These units would be required, the size that to some extent could not be controlled by the board, the setbacks to some extent could not be controlled by the board, and it would have a very large impact on how the board conducts its zoning work and its land use.
Okay, thank you. The other thing is, our infrastructure is not prepared for this, you know? Just if you had one person in each unit, you know, we'd be increasing the population of the village enormously. So, you know, I think this will create dramatic environmental impacts, right? We have a village that is 90% septic systems that would need to be overhauled. Honestly, we should be on sewage systems to properly clean our water. So I think this is just going to create a bigger environmental issues as well as the quality of life issues from a code enforcement perspective that it'll create for the village. In the end, I think that would require, you know, a financial hit, which is going to lead to tax increases. There's no way for us to oversee, you know, additional construction in the village plus additional code enforcement without making increases to our budget. So I think this is a well-intentioned to try and create additional housing in the state, which we need. We need to remain competitive. It's hard for, right, our young people to stay here on Long Island. But I just think this is a very bad way to approach it, especially for our community. So I am opposed to this. I've drafted up a letter to send to the governor and the state legislators. I just don't want to do that without talking to the board first and making sure, you know, I got your all input. So are there any questions or comments, concerns from the board on this issue? Hopefully I addressed it thoroughly.
No, I agree with you 100% on this. It's a very bad situation for villages, especially with the half a mile by a train station, zoned 1 acre, 25 unit by right. I mean, all of a sudden we'd have a couple of apartment buildings in the village, in the middle of a residential neighborhood, not even on a major street. So it might be good intent, but it's going to be terrible for execution. So I'm 100% opposed to the governor's plan that's in the budget.
Anybody else? In addition, I have already been in touch with Assemblywoman Salidi and Senator Kaplan's offices. They are both opposed to this. So the letter that I sent to the governor, I will also send to them. And they're going to keep us up to date on anything that develops with it as well. So I have not found a local elected official or state elected official in the area who is okay with this. So I think they are going to hear a lot of opposition over the coming days over this. I'm also going to alert the community in an email this week, share those letters so we can make more people in the village aware of it.
It's very ham-fisted.
Yeah, and out of nowhere, nobody can really identify for me why this was stuck in there. I'm sure there's a reasoning to it, a rationale, but yeah, definitely was. So, all right. Sorry, I know that was one of the reasons why you're here. Did we answer your question thoroughly?
You did, thank you. I'm glad to hear that you are opposed to this, and so thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming down. Thank you. All right. Just real quickly, I know we have the architectural review report. Was going to go to that next on the agenda. Let's go there.
Start with approval of minutes.
Oh yeah, approval of minutes. Sorry. Skip down. Any questions on the minutes?
No, I'll make a motion to accept them.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second by trustee Frankel, all in favor?
Aye. Any opposition, abstentions? Great. Okay, ARC report.
ARC report.
Peter.
Okay, this is the January 24th ARC review. We have one that was back a few months, 1045 Williams Boulevard. That was the pole sign. There was some back and forth on that, and that's for your approval. We have 35 Burchill. that we noted there, that was from BZA. That went a couple rounds. They gave us some final information on materials and so forth. So with those conditions that we had reviewed, so they have actually been met, asking your approval for that. 12 Wood Valley, that was a return. We just asked for one little comment, actually a drawing correction on that, and that's approved with that condition.
35 Birchdale
New
is my neighbor.
applications that came in.
Do I have to abstain?
8100 Foot Drive, we had some difficulties with some of the massing of the additions that were there, and we asked them to come back for next month. 9 Chestnut, second story addition, front porch, exterior alteration, some minor corrections on the front facade, given to the architect, and that was approved with that condition.
He says I should recuse myself.
70 Chestnut solar panels, that was, they had panels on both the front and the rear. We asked them to remove the panels from the front of the house. And that's been submitted, so that is for your approval. 44 Boulder, AK 880 Birch, they're changing their address. That was a new dwelling. There were some 3 comments there that were submitted to the board for distribution, and they met those conditions, so committed to you for their approval also tonight.
Peter, I assume they're turning the house then?
Yeah, so the front of the house will be on Birch.
Okay.
I know we also did get some comments from a neighbor that did not relate to the architectural nature of the home or relate to ARC. So I've talked to Peter. We'll keep an eye on those. I think the builder has actually addressed those with the homeowner as well, or some of them. So we'll just keep an eye on stuff. But just so folks know, we did receive some comments, and we'll take care of it through the code of the village. All right. Any questions, comments, Gary? Anything from your end on the ARC report? All right. Can I have a motion to adopt?
Motion to approve the findings of the architectural review board.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Wojciechowski, can I have a second, please?
Who is that?
Second.
Max?
Trustee Franco, thank you.
Ronnie, I have to recuse myself from this
Okay.
because of Birchdale property.
I'm sorry, which one?
Birchdale is my neighbor, so I have to,
So just going to recuse you on the birth scale.
All those in favor of adopting the ARC report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? One abstention? And we're good.
well, recuse.
Recuse. Okay, yeah.
Not an abstention.
The claims.
Well, because that is next after Stony Town Road.
I just want to remind you.
I see you, Suzanne. We'll get there.
Suzanne's
So,
taking care of this.
Just real quickly on Stony Town Road, we did follow up, and Mary Jo, I'm sorry I didn't follow up the one off because I told you I would. Additional notice was given to the homeowner. Right now, we are assessing costs to put a fence up. We are also looking at, again, adding more violations, and Peter's going to reach out to try and set up a meeting with the 2 property owners. While there has been some engagement, it seems to come and go. So, like I said, we're going to continue to push forward, issue additional violations, and take whatever steps necessary to keep the property safe. Any questions or comments on that one? Steve, I don't know, you look like you might have had a
We
comment.
have at least a construction fence, like one of those orange fences that go across it, just temporarily.
That's what they're working on.
Okay.
So, all right. Thank you very much. All right. Treasurer's report. We have the claims. Suzanne, anything to call out on the claims for the board? Pretty standard.
Well, just for the record, the water bill is quarterly, right?
It
Suzanne?
is quarterly.
I thought we used a lot of water. That's a quarterly bill. So if anybody saw that high number, it's quarterly. It's reasonable.
And water, I don't know how it is in Roslyn, but the price has gone up tremendously.
Yeah, I asked the water
What hasn't?
authorities to check our bills, to check the billing. I asked them if they could come and look at our meter, make sure it was working properly. They came, and the meter is fine. They gave us some dye tablets to put into the toilets to see if we had a leak anywhere. And we did detect a small leak, which was fixed, but the bills are still pretty high.
Okay. All right, motion to approve the claims. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, approve the claims, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Gary, question?
Sorry, I saw American Station on here, is that the final payment? Or what's what?
No, that is not final payment.
Yeah, that's their.
Oh, they did follow up on those other items?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize.
We're holding retainage right now, which is at around $18,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was the difference. I apologize. And they have a new billing person. Is that what it is? I saw the latest email. There's a
They
new.
have somebody new in there every month.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you want to work with Angela?
Boy, let me tell you. Wait till she gets brought up to speed. All right, let's keep working through then. Treasurer's report, Public Works Superintendent's report. Rich?
Nothing crazy. Obviously, the snowstorm we had a little bit of pickup. Our brand new truck, somehow the piston broke, but luckily it's under warranty, so that's all fixed now.
Okay, good.
You know, we had that extra pickup truck, which was nice to go out there, and it took us a little longer, but I mean, we still pretty much had everything clear by the time the storm was done.
Can we get a reminder out to remind people that their plow guys and their snow blower guys cannot blow snow into the street?
Yeah, we always do that.
Did you not listen to my message?
I did, but people, I think we needed to,
They do it
Yeah.
no matter what.
yeah, I mean, I saw it and it was like,
What I would say is just like the landscaping issues, please take a picture, send it to us. Actually, I have one case that I followed up with Robert on, that they had to go back. Actually, it was 2 days later that they started shoveling their snow out into the road. Yeah, so I'd say we take care of it the same way. Let's try and remind people. I did do the code red. We'll send out emails. Let's put up reminders. We can include something in our next
It's on the
newsletter.
website as well.
Yeah.
On the front
I think
page.
it's out there. You got plenty of reminders, people just don't.
Well, remember though, but we remind the residents, they're not telling their plow company.
right,
Plow
I think
companies
that's
are
the
gonna
problem. And it's not just the plow. The plow guys are pretty good. It's these individual guys that I saw that now have smartened up and now they're driving around with snow blowers instead of shovels.
Yes.
And they're, knocking on people's doors, which is fine. You know what? It's good, earn a living, but they don't know the procedure and that's.
And just so everybody knows too, from just a labor perspective, like these guys were there for 24 hours from Friday night to Saturday night. Like, I don't know if many people realize that they went home, the snow kept coming and they ended up coming in early. So Rich, please thank the crew for us. Really appreciate everything they're doing. Also, thank you for the water seepage on Manhasset Woods Road. Rich and Ronnie stayed on top of the water departments for it. The water department say they didn't have a leak, but after they finished digging and restored everything, the water has stopped leaking out onto the road. So
No leak.
glad they don't have a leak, but whatever they did must have redirected the water then. I don't know.
I go there every day, and
Yeah.
it's dry.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly it changed. So,
It's just a coincidence.
So that's that. Steve, Village Engineers Report. I know we talked about Stony Town, so I don't know anything else. If not, we'll wait for executive session on the other issue. Okay, thank you. Ronnie, you're up.
Okay, I have nothing separate to report. I'll pass it to Jeff.
Okay.
The BZA hearing, they had one matter last month and it was adjourned, so there's nothing for me to report.
Okay.
Oh, we're flying through this.
State budget, we talked about the zoning issue. Middle Neck Road, we talked about, so my agenda is done as well. Trustees, anything to report? I think it was a quiet month.
I'll report Hempstead Harbor stuff. So they're renewing the dues at the same rate as last 7 years or whatever, so it's $5,448. And also there's been a lot of activity in the last month, hence the Harbor Protection Committee and the other protection committees. There's a lot of stuff going on with the DEC, new MS4 guidelines and requirements, so we should take a look at that. It sounds like some of it can be pretty onerous, but I'm assuming that the protection committees and whatever other, the people that.
Most of the work for our MS4 permit comes through, are we,
DMV.
American Bartolucci, and then we get.
Well, it might mean that our bill gets bigger because it's more work for them. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we should be on the lookout for that. But they are pushing back on it, so we'll see where that goes.
Okay. Thank you for the heads up, and we will. And let's pull Gary into those discussions too. Anything else, trustees? All right, going to revisit an oldie but a goodie, file scanning and municity contracts. Ronnie, can you just,
Well, I'm going to defer
Do you
to
have the-
trustee to Deputy Mayor Rosenbaum.
but do you have the spreadsheet or no?
I do not.
Okay.
I sent it to Ronnie this afternoon.
I never got into the new one.
Oh. Regardless, I think if we are going to approve something tonight, I would only want to approve the municity contract to replace our current building department software. And we could discuss at another meeting the scanning, the microfiche scanning of the records. Because I think now that we are moving the email service off of our server, we are in danger of losing our building department software because it's on the same server that we were warned is at the end of its useful life. So I think it would make sense to move forward on just the municity as is. In the future, we can discuss adding an additional module because I did not receive from Municity additional pricing. I had a demo of Municity at another municipality, and I was thinking it would be very good for us to add in the consumer-facing module for some permitting or resident-facing, and for it would allow them to do code enforcement complaints, so they could do it online. But I did not receive that additional quote from Municity yet.
Is that the full quote then?
That is the quote that you have here in front of you that I sent this afternoon,
Yeah.
not including the resident-facing modules. We could add that in at a later date, and it's not very expensive, those additional add-ons.
So, from two perspectives, I think this is going to immensely help us on a building perspective. We're just inundated with files, and trying to navigate them can be a challenge. So I think this will definitely enhance that. But on the code enforcement side, from what I'm seeing, I think this will be really good for us. Be able to actually see better data. I mean, the staff does a good job of when we have requests where we want to see something, they got to go back and pull tickets and letters. This loads it all into one thing. We can see where there's been repeated warnings to a site right on site, even though Robert's like the institutional knowledge to that and the staff is. I think it would create more opportunities for us to understand what are the code violations we're seeing, what does that mean about our laws, and give us real-time data. And then the public-facing part of it, which I would like to move towards once we have the full pricing on it, I think just enhances our ability to work with residents remotely and more efficiently with them. So total cost of the scanning and the first piece of this is $60,675. Is that correct?
There's not without the scan.
That's without the scan,
That's
that's
what-
just the Municity software.
Correct. This is just for Municity.
Correct.
And then the scanning piece, what was that?
That's expensive one, because it's very labor intensive.
But we don't have to have these scanned digital files to do the municity part. That's just, it's good to have later. I would be more comfortable right now in moving forward with municity because, Ronnie, how many months from we signed the contract? We're not going to be live for what, 4 months, maybe
3 to 4
longer?
months.
So we don't need to get the records scanned until a little later. So we have some time to do that. I just wasn't comfortable with the whole proposal. I think we had some questions a couple of months ago on that, the actual dollar amount. I think we had some questions, if you remember, Frank, because I think you brought it up, of is this an estimate? How close to the estimate is it? So to move the ball forward, we need to have the software in place before we do the digital record scanning. And even if we never did the digital record scanning, municity would work on its own. Like it doesn't have to be hand in hand.
And I think from the work we've done too, I think you may have referred to this before, we probably do the files in tranches. Like we don't have to do all the files at once.
Right.
We can spread the cost over, I think, multiple years and come up with a plan to transfer all the files over electronically. I think it's going to be hard to
No,
get
yeah,
every
I
file
just
done.
want to say
in a
is that
year.
we do have the money, we have ARPA money, and Treasury has revised their requirements for what the money can be spent on. And they've now come out with all of the local government units can spend up to $10 million on any government service. So we have no issue with spending it on something like this, which clearly fits within the parameters.
All right, so I guess make a motion, or well, first, any questions or comments? I'm sorry.
I have a comment.
Peter.
Randy said at the beginning, you're gonna stop the old, you can't stop the old, it's gonna have to be an overlap.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I'm doing this because I'm
Yeah.
fearful that the old system will crash on you
Right,
and you won't
yeah.
have anything.
But we're gonna have to keep, you have to keep checklists going until this is in full operation.
Oh, of course.
Because municity is going to take the raw data and checklist and incorporate it.
Right.
So we have to keep checklists.
You know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you
100% ready to
misconstrued
go.
what I said. I was trying to be proactive just
I
in
get
case.
nervous about that.
No. I'm being proactive just in case the server dies and then you have nothing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And just on that transition, right, I think if we move on this now, that takes us to the new budget cycle. And hopefully we can make a clean break between the existing system and the new one. So, Gary, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask Randall, so is there software to do kind of reporting on, you can run reports and that kind of thing?
Through
Like, to
municipal.
find out what, like, the last 12 months, what the violations have been, or what the,
Yes.
It has solid reporting capability.
We could find anything. Like, and the goal is,
so you can
Any-
interrogate.
no, there'll be no interrogation.
Oh.
You got to kind of see a demonstration of it, I think, to really get the whole, like when
Yeah,
you,
so I've had a demo. You didn't go downstairs and get a demo?
I saw it the first time. I was the one that saw it originally
okay.
from Chrissy. Chrissy has it downstairs. You can go see it tomorrow.
It's
Yeah.
a very, it's a very good program. What,
Yeah,
know,
you got to see it to see how it works. It
Yeah,
does
right.
so many things that,
Cool.
I mean, the good thing is for Peter and for Robert is they can do they can do work in the field.
yeah.
They could be literally
Yeah.
at the resident's house, put all the data in, and if they had a printer on them, they could theoretically print out
Right.
permits, they could print out violations.
Right.
It's good, but yes, reporting, we'll know anything you'll want to know about building department and any kind of violations that have happened. All that stuff's reports you can put data on. As long as you put the good data in. So if
Yeah,
somebody,
well, that's, yeah.
anybody who calls into the village hall with a complaint about something, as long as whoever takes the call enters the data, we're gonna have a really good, robust database.
And on that front too, I think we've said this before, but just to highlight it, we have spoken to other villages about it that are using it, get good reviews about it. All right, so
And Peter uses it in another village, and
Yeah.
Peter says it's a very good program. So
Well done.
at least from the learning curve, there'll be no learning curve training our personnel because he's already a power user.
all right,
Great.
all right. If there's no more question or comments, I guess I'll make a motion to pursue a contract with Municity for cloud-based building department and code enforcement software.
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Also, yeah, I know.
I've been sweating that server.
I know. So just so everybody knows, in the document that I emailed to you that Randall put together, working with Suzanne and Ronnie, we've actually come up with a template for capital projects. So take a look at it. If you have suggestions for us, let us know.
Let me know.
But going forward, any project that we're looking for money for, right, before it comes to the board, this will be filled out. It'll give you a full background. It'll give you a total cost, what anticipated future costs are. So, you know, they're starting to work on a bigger capital project kind of binder. So folks will know like, hey, where are we headed? How are we building out the infrastructure, and include that in our budget process. So thank you very much for all the time that was put into doing that. I know it's been some back and forth, but I think it's really going to help the board and the public know why we're doing these projects and what the cost of them is. All right. Roslyn Fire Department contract update. Want to give an overview of the situation here, Jeff and Ronnie? Want to tag team this one?
Sure. So the Roslyn, a little general overview. Normally, this is priced to the villages that are covered by Roslyn Fire Company based upon the assessment within the county. The county conducted a reassessment, and the result of that has been, at least arguably, a fairly large skewing in favor of where some villages' assessment numbers went down and others, including Flower Hills, went up. The result would be that we would be paying an appreciably larger amount than we had in prior years. I'll give you an example. Last year it was roughly $285,000 and change. The proposal this year would be $306,987.
$33,000 increase.
So the thought, and this is being powered through the village of Roslyn at this point, had been that perhaps that there should be a better way to determine what each village would pay. So what's being considered is that there will be outreach to the fire district about holding the line for this particular contract period. That the village would pay the same number it paid last year, the same percentage that it had paid last year into this year's contract, and that the other villages would as well, and then renegotiate with the fire district to come up with something more equitable for the future. I know that Roslyn's already submitted a letter to the fire district. They're asking if this board would consider doing that as well. It will be an exploration into finding a more appropriate way for pricing in the future.
So, this happened with Port Washington also, and I think I explained the same thing a few months ago with the assessment. We brought up this same topic, and unfortunately, the town of North Hempstead has the largest chunk of voting in the, actually they're 51%, and all the other villages combined make up 49%, or it's a little bit, 51 and a half, or whatever. So the town of North Hempstead was, because of their, I guess, financial position last year, did not want to entertain any kind of modification to this. Now, new leadership, I don't know, if that's going to change. But, I wasn't aware that there was an option to not go along with the new rate. And I don't think the Port Washington Fire Department knows that. Because and ours is up for approval, I think, tonight also. Yeah, we had a significant increase in the Port Washington Fire Department.
Just relatively speaking, Port Washington is 7,500 over last year, not 33,000.
That's all we were, 7,500?
What?
We were more than 7,500.
That's the calculation I got.
So
Strange, but okay.
if I understand how this would shake out, if we were to submit this letter to the Roslyn Fire, our rate is going to be going up, but just not as high as intended. And that's kind of how it's being spread out across the board for all the municipalities.
But somebody has to make up that difference, obviously, because the
Yeah.
cost of firefighting, at least in the Port Washington Fire Department, is going up dramatically. A fire truck is $2.5 million. You know, so, and the equipment costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, we at Port Washington have had a hard time trying to manage the budget because of the rising costs of everything, fuel. So I don't see how, and if they can, it'd be great, but I just wonder how they can do that. Somewhere there's going to be a shortfall, and who's going to pick up that shortfall? So,
Right, the thought would be that the villages that are, I guess the word benefiting by the manner in which the assessment came down, would also agree to pay what could be seen as an increase if you just go on the assessment level. But they would be paying more than would be based on the assessment level. It would be based on the percentage of what they were being paid paying prior, but it would still be less than what they would be. Nobody would be paying more than they paid before.
I'm wondering if we could work out that same kind of.
Well,
Yeah.
the idea is that's what's being.
So another way to think about it is the way that the state has allowed the county to implement their increase and decreases over 5 years. Roslyn, that's the idea that
So
we're trying
phasing,
to
the
do here
phase-in
in Roslyn,
kind of
a
thing.
phased-in approach. So the people that are going lower are going lower, people are going higher are higher. You're just not doing it all in 1 year. So if I go back to the email, I think we'd be contributing 7.7078%. The new budget amount in the new budget amount for 2022, our contribution will be 285,967 instead of 306,923. So I think this is the fairest way to do it for right now. And so I guess, do I need authorization from the board to send that letter, or am I just kind of giving everybody a heads up and making sure there's no concerns?
What I would ask is if the board is in agreement that if there's authorization for a letter to be drafted for the mayor's review, and either be sent through the mayor's office or through council, consistent with the letter previously sent by the village of Roslyn. And then to go further from there with the fire companies.
So looking for a motion on that letter, unless there's any other comments or questions.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mary Jo. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. All right. We have the Port Washington Fire Department contract, so I think we're going over a little bit of familiar ground, but.
Well, there's no urgency on this because the contract doesn't take effect until June 1st.
Yeah.
Okay. So, $7,500 increase is what you said?
Let me check my numbers.
All right.
Yeah,
Because Friday, yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure it's
Yeah,
that.
I
Yeah,
know.
check.
We're gonna-
This year and this
Yeah,
year.
double check.
Let's pull that one for now
How
then.
much was how much was the increase last year?
You know what, I don't know.
Wait, so last year was the big hit, I think.
Probably.
Without having
Of like,
contracts. in front
there
of
was
me,
like
I
60
don't
or
recall.
$70,000.
I think last year was the bigger.
The big
So
All
maybe
right.
this year's only
Let's,
75, could be only 75.
we're gonna-
Okay,
Last year was-
Pull it up for next meeting.
it was
We're
like
gonna punt on this one.
$75,000 last
All
year.
right, appointment of elections inspectors. Ronnie, I think you have a overview. It's in our packet.
Okay, whereas Article 15, Section 15-116 of the New York State election law, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Flower Hill is authorized to appoint individuals to serve as inspectors of election for the general election, which will be held on March 15, 2022. And the board hereby appoints the following people to serve as inspectors of election and alternates: John Parker, Michael Putre, Anthony Rollins, and Howard Sussy. In the event that any of the above cannot serve, any other qualified individual may be appointed, and the result that each individual are duly qualified to serve as such inspectors, and the compensation will be $250 for each inspector, and they all must file a constitutional oath prior to the assumption of their duties.
I guess I'll just ask the question, does anybody actually know these individuals or have any conflicts with them? All right, sounds good. I'll make a motion to appoint these election inspectors. Is there a second? Thank you, trustee Dorfman. Second from trustee Dorfman.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Claire.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. All right, I'm going to also make a motion to introduce a proposed local law E. This came up as part of our discussion around the rental registry to add that food establishments submit a annual certification of inspection from an exterminator to help address the issues from earlier in the summer. I think it's just common sense to ensure that there's a basic health and safety going on at the facilities and on their properties. So we introduced this law. Ronnie could post notices, and we'd have a hearing over the next couple months on it. So, any questions or comments?
Just a motion to introduce.
All right, I'll make a motion to introduce this new local law. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Gary, thank you. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? None. Okay, history report we're getting in writing this month. Open it up to public comment. Anybody here for public comments? All right, seeing none, thank you. All right, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. Trustee Frankel made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we're in executive session. Thank you.
Kill it, Rich.
For the purposes of the legal issue. Legal issues.